register, and they were putting them into my class. Now the chief register is a bureaucrat. So he does not put the third person in the waiting list in the class if the first person in the waiting list does not get into the class. Because he says the waiting list is coming as first come, first served. So in order to take the third person on the waiting list, I need to take the first and the second. But I don't know who they are. Do I want to take this risk? I do want the third person to be in my class. The same way that I wanted you to be in my 320 class. What do I do is my question. Is this quantitative or qualitative analysis in terms of management? Keith, I want your attention. I want your eyes to look at me. Redzai, same thing to you. Not notes keeping. This is a quantitative versus qualitative information. One last example. During this period that we had the coronavirus, did you listen any time to the governor of New York? The governor of New York, every day he was talking to the news, telling what is happening. Did you listen, Mr. Cuomo? And since Mr. Cuomo was very effective in explaining what is happening, the mayor of New York also starts giving a report. And I want you to tell me, these two different guys are holding a leadership position. When the mayor of New York is talking about what is happening in New York City, and the governor of New York is talking about what is happening in New York State, how do they present their cases? What are the similarities and what are the differences between these two cases? And I want Michael to tell me, have you watched them?
Yeah, I've seen parts of them. Their addresses.
What's the difference between the mayor and the governor? Who is using quantitative analysis comfortably and efficiently, and who is using qualitative analysis?
Well,
When do you stay and listen to one person for half an hour or an hour, or you push the button and you see the other channel, or you turn off your TV?
I mean, I barely listen to them at all because, they're not, all they do is just talk about the statistics of COVID-19 and the
Correct.
deaths.
That's what I want you to be able to assess. And if you cannot assess, you can't assess. And I want you to be able to assess. Based upon that, I had a discussion with my daughter. She said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm waiting to see who is going to be the vice presidential pickup from Mr. Biden. And I want him to pick up Governor Cuomo. She says, yeah, but he is not a woman. I said, he is the most effective governor. He knows how to govern. She says, he is not interested to become a vice president. I said, precisely, that's why it makes him useful to be there, because he knows how to govern. She says that the vice president is not governing. And I say the vice president is there to be a president when the president dies.
Sorry,
And this is exactly what I want you to know. Who is using quantitative and who is using qualitative analysis as a leader? Did you listen to Mr. Cuomo? If you didn't, I want you to go to YouTube and listen to one of his speeches. And go on and listen to the mayor of New York. And I want you to go on and listen to the President of the United States. And I want you to tell me what kind of leadership they possess based upon that particular evidence that you have in using quantitative and qualitative analysis, because that is what it makes someone to be a leader. And if you are a leader, you want to do well your job. You don't want to lose something else. But because you do well your job, that means that you can do really good another job. And we should select the person that is able to do well one given job. And that job is administering, is governing, is managing. Who do we get to do the job? The one who wants to do it, or the one who is capable of doing it? Laura, why don't I see you?
She said she was going to be back. She put in a message.
Yeah, but I said I don't want to see her all the time. So, and I move on. How the idea of leadership is evolving. How the idea of leadership is evolving. How things are changing. Reggie, did you serve in the Army? Air Force, Navy?
No.
Nothing at all. Why not?
I'm not with the rules and regulations of like the Army, so that wouldn't be my thing.
I see. So what is the difference between military leadership and civilian leadership?
I guess with military leadership, there are like strict rules that we have to follow. With civilian leadership, the rules are like a little bent, so they're not as strict.
And why in the military we have strict rules?
I'm not sure. I guess that there's a code of honor or something that you have to follow directly.
But you have a nephew.
Yeah.
Sarah has children. Who is strict with the kid? Sarah with her children, or you with your nephew?
No, I'm not a strict person. I don't really care about rules. So,
if you have your own child, would you be a strict father?
No, I don't believe in being strict.
Let's ask Sarah. If Reggie is going to become a father, is he going to be a strict father?
Yes.
And I take Sarah's word, not your word. Because it's a different thing to have a nephew and different thing to have your child.
And you have to implement rules. You have to enforce it no matter what. You wouldn't want him to do
And you
things
hear
that
it
are
from
harm.
the woman, right? And when you get someone that looks like Sarah, get her for a wife. And move on. Because you want a strict leader to be able to face challenges. What is a challenge, Keith?
A challenge is
Challenge.
a challenge, like something that you face is something that's like not simple, something like you have to conquer and overface.
Good. Do I face challenges as a teacher?
Yeah.
Which is the most interesting challenge that I have?
I'm not sure. Probably grading work, getting the students to learn, pay attention.
Professor, what is the most interesting challenge that I have? Rahima, I see your hand. I asked Professor, I didn't ask you.
I think the most interesting challenge that you have is this virtual space.
Why is that an issue?
think is because you don't know who's actively participating in your class.
I do. I know that Sarah is actively participating in class even when she cleans up her kitchen. And I know that Laura is not participating in class and she's not, I don't know where. What is the difference, having you there and seeing you through the technology or having you in class? You can be in class as a body and your mind can travel. Same thing is happening here. I have 25 people in class and I have 13 people here. I know who is excused not to be here and I know the reason. And I know who is not here because there is no reason that I know. And I know one of you was not here yesterday and I found out today why is not happening. Hi Nadia.
Morning.
So, what is the challenge? What is the challenge that I'm facing working with my class? Forget working with my class, that's a theoretical question. Working with you, do I have given challenges? Which are the challenges that I have to master? This is what it says in the book. Leadership is an activity, it's not a position. It's not to be a professor leadership. You can have a lot of professors. I had a professor who was reading his book. I observed a professor who was reading PowerPoints that were made for him from the publisher. I asked the student to do PowerPoints based upon the chapters because I had to give her the work and pay for her. Do I use these PowerPoints? Have you seen them? No. Leadership is an activity. What do I do with you? What is my challenge? Now, Laura is with Red. Good. Laura, what is my challenge? What did we say the last 10 minutes? I can't hear you.
I said in the chat that I will be back. So
Okay.
I was doing something.
That's why people complained last semester. They said, this professor does not let me go to the bathroom. I said, I let you go to the bathroom as long as you give me a letter from a urologist saying that you cannot hold yourself for 10 minutes, for 15 minutes, for an hour. But if you go to a class, you don't go to a class to go to the bathroom, except if you do it the way that my son does it. And I have a son, same way that Sarah has daughters. And I know when my son gets out of the class to go to the bathroom, doesn't go to do any physical need, goes on to check his text messages and text the others that he cannot do it in class. So my question is, Jose, what is my challenges? Forget my challenges. What is the challenge that a professor has when he has to teach the class? And forget the theoretical case, take it the specific case. You, in this group, and me, is a relationship between 14 people that are there and me that I'm here. Do I face a challenge? And what is this challenge? And if I go to another class, that is exactly the same thing, Business 200, with another professor and another group of students, do we have the same experience? And I want to learn what is the activity of the leadership? Or in other words, what challenges do we face? And what do we do with these particular challenges? Can you tell me? You read the book. You have to. And I have to. But after that, I want you, when you read the book, to do mainly two things. This is what I'm going to test you. Rahima, at the office hour at the beginning, she asked me what kind of questions you will ask. Questions that are coming naturally from the material. And I want you to be able to know. I will test you. When? If you have read the book, if I do not see anything marked in the book, I would assume that you look at it. You didn't read it. If in your book you have as many notes as I have, as Sarah has, as Nadia has, as Keith has, then I will start asking questions. Otherwise, I'll pass it. And I want you to be able to think. And I want you, after you think, to be able to put it. And I don't buy the fact that Rahima said she cannot be able to speak on the video. She can take her phone, she can push the button, and she can talk. As long as she's able to say something. The first time she's going to do it, she's not going to do it well. The second, the third time that she will think and redo it, she's going to do it better. We call it policing process. Do I evaluate the first and the last as being equal? Or not? Some people give you a first grade, a second grade, a third grade, the average. Does it make sense or not? What is my challenge? And this is what I want you to be able to tell me. What is my objective? My objective is that some people who would be there would follow what I say. Who follows more? Sarah that is cleaning up, or the rest of you? And if I let Sarah to clean up, I do it because I know that she follows it. And if I do not let anyone else get off the hook, is because I'm not sure that you follow it. If you win the trust that Sarah has, I don't have any problem. You can be in the train. But if I don't get it, I don't get it. What is my challenge? Can you tell me, Mike? Can you tell me, Mario? Can you tell me, Jose? What is the challenge?
I think your challenge is to align everyone and to just sort of like align everyone in a state of mind where they will absorb the knowledge that you're trying to give us.
Which means my challenge is, if I have someone that has 4.0, do not let that person to get 3.99, but push that person even harder to get double A. But my challenge is, if I get a person with 3.5, to push that person high up. Laura, I'm talking about you. And not let that person fall down. And if I have a weak person, to make that weak person better than anybody else. Can I take a weak person and make that person to be better than the one who has 4.0? That's the second derivative. Notice how the change is happening, but how the acceleration is going on. Do you drive? You have a speed, the speed is constant or the speed can change. You can accelerate and you can decelerate. And my objective is, can I make you to accelerate? But different people start from different points. And different people have different speeds. And different people have different problems. And they can accelerate or decelerate differently. And not everyone is facing the same challenges and the same problems. So what do I have to do? I have to put a harmonious team or a non-harmonious team to work together. Are you similar to each other, or everyone has its own challenges? Processo, I want to see you. And I want to move you somewhere. Where do I want you to move? And in that particular case, the book says one specific word that I want you to know it, and I want to know the meaning. So, Jose, what is legitimacy?
Authentic?
Legitimacy. Legitimacy. What is legitimacy?
Something that is right?
I don't know.
Correct?
I don't know. Ask Laura. Laura, what is legitimacy?
Something real, right?
I don't know, man.
Gold, legitimate?
Do you have a dictionary?
I do not, no.
What do you mean you don't?
I don't own one.
Why I have a computer and I can go on my computer and I can see a dictionary?
It's the internet, but okay, I'll look it up.
No, I don't go to the internet. I don't have internet. I have a dictionary.
Conforming to the law or to rules.
I go on and I see in my book, I see what is happening and I get a dictionary. I go here and I can present a window. I can present a window to you. Do you see it?
Yeah.
So, legitimacy is what? I get into the dictionary. I want to thesaurus. Does not give me anything. I want to see what is the legitimacy. Do I have a legitimacy? What is legitimacy? If I have to be bothered about leadership and I look at leadership as an activity, can I check the legitimacy? Before I start the class, I was talking about a colleague. I'm checking his legitimacy. I look at his syllabus, I look at his work. And I see his students after 2 semesters and I ask them, whatever I ask to Laura, Laura, you got A in calculus. What the heck do you know about that A? And I don't care if Reggie doesn't get an A or he gets a C. I care what Reggie would be able to tell me after 2 years. And if he can tell me after 2 years, that is what counts. If he cannot tell me after 2 years, I don't care about his A. And I want to know what is the difference between leadership and management. And I move on. Do you want to be a leader or do you want to be a manager? But Sarah is a manager. You see her. She is managing her house. Is she only managing her house or she is a leader in the house? Sarah has 2 daughters. Sarah is an example. Are the two daughters going to be like Sarah, or the two daughters going to be different or opposite from Sarah? And this is what we have to manage and evolve. And as we go on, we have to see what is happening. And I have a lot of notes here. What is more important, to have things done or how to do things?
How?
How?
How? Because you can have things done and you can have the wrong things. You can have things done and you can have them done on time. But whatever you can have done is for garbage. What is the important point is what you do and how you do it and why you do it, because that gives you a purpose. And we need to know how things are done. What is the most important, to lead or to follow? Yesterday I was talking about Israel. I said that Israel had kings and Israel had prophets. Who were the leaders, the kings or the prophets? And the kings were managing the state. Did they manage the state appropriately and they increased the power of the state, or did they manage the state inappropriately and the state was falling into disaster? And history is clear. After several kings, a king after king after king, Israel was occupied by the Persians. So if Israel was good, they would be strong. And they would not be under the Persians. The Persians went to Jerusalem and they took all their leaders from Jerusalem to Babylon as slaves. Then why did they select a queen from Israel and Esther became a queen of the king in Babylon? Ask Nadia that reads the Bible and she's going to tell you Esther is the king of Babylon, but Esther is the daughter of the Israelites. And I want to know who is the leader, the king that is managing the state or the prophet that is criticizing the king? For what? And this is the question. Can you lead if you don't follow? This is my question. Can you become a professor if you're not a student? Can you become a professor if you're a good student? Then why all the good professors were not good students? Rarely a good professor was a good student. But the good professors that were not that good students learned from their mistakes. If you don't learn, can you become something that can lead? No, learning process is extremely important. And if you lead, do you lead for yourself or do you lead for others? President Trump is president for himself or for the American people? Mr. Cuomo is a governor for himself or for the people of New York? And I don't care about your political views or your political preferences. I care about the facts. And the facts are testified by those who are working for them. have people that work for Mr. Cuomo and we have people that work for Mr. Trump. What do they say? And the book says that we can have people that are misleading. The reason that I'm using this book is because it talks about misleading and mismanagement. But most of the textbooks in management don't talk about mismanagement and misleading. Who is misleading? And who is not misleading? And who is managing and who is not mismanaging? Do we have it clear in our minds? We need it. Because later on you're going to be playing a managerial role. You are not staying where you are. Sarah right now works at the post office. Yesterday she was processing votes. Today she's cleaning the house. Tomorrow she's gonna be an officer. An officer is a leading role or not? When she's gonna be in a leading role, is she going to be a leader that is going to be leading by an example, or a leader that she's going to be led by an order? When she goes on home later on and the kids are up, they would go on and have work to do. Like Redzai, she's gonna put them to do work to do, so they can learn and not have everything ready. A leader is who? A leader that misleads or a leader that leads to the right direction? And we have many leaders in the position that the activity of leadership is not positive. As a result, they mislead. But a leader that has two characteristics, leads by an example, and the leadership is a servant leadership. He serves the other than being served. Is the leader that we have to remember forever. Even if he can perceived as lost. I started the discussion talking with the president that came from Georgia. So Kailis, who was the president that we had in the United States from Georgia? You were here when we were talking about it. Giuseppe, who was the president that came from Georgia?
I don't know much information about United States presidents.
Okay. Why the presidents that become presidents from governors are better presidents than presidents that become presidents from senators is another question. Redzai, who is the governor of Georgia that became a president?
I'm not sure.
Fine, Keith.
I don't know his name, but I know you said he had a daughter that's 50 years old and he's like 90 years old.
Taylor, how is he doing? I asked
Yeah.
how old he
And
is.
she was like that he's 90 and the daughter is like 50.
She said that his daughter is 52.
50, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. But
I remember her as a young kid.
I remember that, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't know
I remember what we spoke about.
If you want to become a manager and if you want to become a leader, you need to train yourself about remembering. Otherwise, forget about it. If you want to move up, you need to pay attention to details and you need to remember the details. Otherwise, forget about it. You can do other things. But if you really want to be a manager, if you really want to be a leader, you need to pay attention to details, and remember them. After that, everything is easy. So, Rahima, who was the president, Rahima.
I don't know, Professor. I forgot the name.
Okay, Mike. Mike.
Yeah.
In other words, I failed to push you so you can pay attention.
I mean, I was paying attention. It's just that, you know.
No, man. If anyone was paying attention, will tell me who was the guy.
I mean, I don't really know either.
It's only one person that became a president with governor from Georgia. That guy is a farmer. That guy is having a farm for pistachios. And that guy is the Baptist.
Saram.
And that guy, Taylor, why did I ask about his daughter?
You were asking me if we were the same age.
No, she's not the same age with me. I'm older. I remember her as a kid.
No, you asked if her and I were the same age.
Yeah. Because I think time doesn't move that fast. So, Processor, who was the president after Mr. Ford?
I don't know presidents.
I do.
Don't know at all.
You don't know presidents. But you don't know all the presidents of the United States from the first to the last.
Of course not.
Of course, you should know it. Laura, who was the president that lost to Mr. Reagan? So I told you the president before and the president after. I told you what that is, and no one here remembers the president. Let's go on and ask Nadia.
President Carter?
President Carter. Was he real? Yes.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Did he prove it? Yes. What did he do? He sent his daughter to the public school. He is the only president who had a child while he was at the White House. Many of the presidents came to the White House. Several of them had children that were going to the school. Who really cared about education? Only one. Why? His child went to the public high school. What Mr. Obama did, he cared about himself. He said he sent his two daughters to the nice private school. Why Mr. Carter sent his daughter to the public school? Because he wanted his daughters to be educated together with you. That means he paid attention to you. If he wanted to pay attention to the rich people, he would send her to the private school. But he didn't. Does the fact that he lost to Mr. Reagan make him non-successful as a president, or there are different explanations? Does the fact that the president sends his child to a public high school and a public university speaks anything about his quality and his leadership to you? Who is trusting public education? If in your class you had a daughter of a president, would be the same as if the daughter of the president is at NYU or Columbia? And this is what we carry out. Is this legitimacy? Is this leadership by example? Is it leadership as a servant leadership? Then the question is why we had him in the White House only 4 years and not for 8. And now you should doubt me. You should say, Professor, cut all that stuff. If he was such a guy that it was good guy, he should be a president for 8 years. Was he a president for 8 years?
No, he was a one-term president. Carter was a one-term president.
Why did he lose?
I mean, maybe because it's kind of goes either way. It's because he didn't have enough great ideas as Reagan, wanted, or maybe because he didn't get, enough policies put in. I mean, it can go either way.
Or the American people are, as always, stupid enough to make bad choices out of the options that they have.
Not really, because it's. I wouldn't consider it to be bad choices.
But I asked you about what kind of issues we are facing right now yesterday, and none of you were able to tell me what problems we are facing
Today.
and what people are telling. So, usually leaders reflect those who are led. And the history shows one thing. Usually students don't want good teachers. Students want teachers that they can give them high grades easy. And that doesn't exclude me either. If I had the choice to do no work and get good grade and pass through, I would take that option rather than work hard.
Looking at your record, you actually do have progress. Like, you do good stuff.
And then we say that leadership is contextual. What does this mean, Taylor? Leadership is contextual.
That it's depends on.
I don't know. I will ask you that question in the final exam. And I will ask you to give me examples of
circumstances.
And I move on. The time is 10:30. I have only 10 minutes. What do we know about good leaders? Do we really like good leaders? Or why do we like bad leaders? Did I ask you to watch a movie about Machiavelli, of a guy that was in Washington and he wrote about history books, and he was talking about his book, Machiavelli, in a modern context? Did I ask you to watch that movie in YouTube? I recall I did. And we watched it here together. And at one point of time, I stopped it. And I said, okay, when you get home later on, what's the rest? Why did I stop it? Because immediately after that point was one important thing that I wanted you to see. Did you see it? I don't know. I doubt it. But he was talking about the people in Great Britain. And the people in Great Britain had a great leader during the war. But as soon as the war was over, they got the first jerk that they were able to select and they put him in the Prime Minister's office. And they got the good leader out. And the question is, when do we want good leaders and when we don't want good leaders? When do we want to have good professors and when we don't want to have good professors? We want to have high grades and pass without doing the work. And everybody is moving from one model to the other all the time for a reason and for a purpose. And we need to know that part because it is extremely important. When do we have leader? Does the leader have a vision? Does a leader have a strength? Does a leader have a commitment? Does a leader deal with tensions? Does a leader deal with crises? Does a leader provide resolutions? These are the points that they do matter. And the last point is, do we have a culture around leadership or not? And what is the meaning of that particular culture? Is gender related to leadership or not? Why the Greeks had gods and goddesses, but why the Jews had only a male god? But the Assyrians had only a female goddess. And I asked you to watch an opera. And the other day was an opera about Baal and Astarte. And these are the deities we had in the Babylonians and the Assyrians. Why the female model prevails there? Can I have strong leader? And why in Bangladesh all the strong leaders are women? Much stronger than the men. I don't know, I'm not from Bangladesh. I have my friend who is from Bangladesh. But when I have a strong female leader, after she serves as a leader, why we put her to prison? Did we put any woman to prison? Why? And I don't want her to give me an answer, because I want you to figure it out why these things are happening.
Professor?
They're an important aspect in the leadership.
Professor?
Mike, wait for me because I need to finish. Why when I hire people and I go on and I look at the 35 people that I hired as Federal Work Study Program of members, out of the 35, 23, 25 of them are women. Do I favor women more than men or not? But yesterday, I was pursuing a man to go on and apply for that. Why when I go to a prison and I teach in a prison, I see most of the prisoners being males and not females. And I want to process her and I want to do a quantitative analysis. Is this statistic there for a reason or not? If I go on and I look at single families, why mostly a woman takes care of the family and the man escapes and disappears? And some of the time, he moves to prison. Why is that happening to societies that are affluent societies, like our society? And if the societies are not affluent but are poor, my Dito is from which country?
Cameroon.
Central Africa, Cameroon. Why this doesn't happen in Cameroon? But in Cameroon, we have a different type of behavior. Is culture a significant reason for that? And how that particular culture evolves? And how do we behave in the culture that we are in? And is only race, or is also wealth or class related to that? Why the United States Congress has mostly rich people? Why among all the presidents, very few end up being not affluent? Several of them became presidents not being rich, but only few, after being presidents, they didn't stay rich. Is the role of leadership only for those who have money, and because of money they have power? Or we should have, as leaders, those who have character? Can you have character when you have power? And when do you lose it? Why Colin Powell didn't become really rich? And he had power, and he had character. He expanded his power. He expanded his character also. He is not poor, but he is not rich. And I want to move on, but I don't have time. And as I go on, I want to see reframing leadership. The last part of the chapter is something that is important. And it's something that I want to read it in a personal interest and matter. Because if you start this class as not having personal interest of becoming a leader and a manager, now I want you to be a leader and a manager. And I want to see how you will change yourself so you will become a leader and a manager in a very practical and simple way. Sarah started this class as being a worker in a post office. She's going to finish this class as being something else. Why and how? And 2 years later, she's going to be something else again. Why and how? And Sarah is multitasking. Why she pays more attention to what is happening in the class multitasking than the rest of you that you stay there, you look at me. And this is the main point. The main point is how you can reframe the leadership concepts so you would be able to do it. And it says, a leader has strong belief in people. A leader is visible because we want to see him, and is accessible. A leader empowers others, but not the same way everybody. And what we need to do, we need to activate the powers that we have so we can become leaders. Next chapter is about change. And I want to ask something to do from today to tomorrow. So, Rohana, who was the prophet that I asked you what the Quran says about that prophet? And you
Isa.
say to him with his Greek name,
Isa. No.
Elia.
Yeah, Elias.
Good. Do you have access to Quran? Yeah,
Yes.
it's free. It's free in the internet. Do you have access to the Old Testament? It's free in the internet. I want finishing to know about a zealot and a prophet that gives leadership that is contrary to the leadership of the king. A zealot and the prophet. The one who was best of all was Elijah or Elia. What can you figure out about that? And the interesting thing about him, Laura, is that this guy never died. But if he never died, then is he God or a prophet? And if he never died, did he have a lot of followers? Or what is happening? And I want to use him as an example so I can move to the next chapter. And the next chapter is how to change organizations. Did he really change Israel? Or not? And it doesn't matter if I know or not, I want you to tell me what you know about him. And what was his role in changing organizations, because that is what I want to do. Can I change BMCC? No. Can Kavis change her father's business? Not really. Can Laura's father, Taylor's father, change drastically the school that he is managing? Not really. Then why do we bother to talk about change if the change we can have is a fractional change? It's something that happens just a little bit. Can I change my class? Meaning, can I change you? In such a way that you can be able to do things differently. To what way and to what point? It remains to be seen. Can we see it? Rahima says, I have a hard time to sit in front of the camera and talk. But when Rahima sits in front of the camera and talks, yesterday, today, and the day after, provides evidence of how she can think and express herself in a different way. Can she do it? She doesn't believe it, and I don't care about it. Can she achieve it? Yes. And this is the outcome we need to have as we're going to be done with the class. I took you 10 minutes. I would like you to have a nice day. I'll see you tomorrow. Mario, what did I ask you to know by tomorrow?
You asked us about the prophet Elias and how he changed his role in changing organizations and if he changed Israel.
Good. You check the Old Testament, 2 books. You check the New Testament, 2 books, and you check the Quran. His name appears in all this stuff. Doesn't have a lot of information. Usually, for interesting people, we don't have a lot of information. I want you to be able to tell me his story.
Okay.
And I want to go on and finish. Have a nice day, guys.
You too, Professor. Bye.
Bye, Professor.